Our desire to construct a large, new home had finally materialized, and I was ecstatic about the prospect of starting a new chapter in our life. But just as we were getting ready to celebrate, my in-laws unexpectedly made an appearance. They requested my parents to vacate the property and said, "We'll be moving in here," in a strong tone. I was shocked and looked to my husband for consolation, but all he could manage was a deep breath and a "please do as they ask" expression. Inform your folks politely. I felt a mixture of disbelief and resentment as I watched my in-laws excitedly unpack and settle into what was supposed to be our new home. "Do you realize this is our house?" In the hopes that they would realize my mistake, I asked. "Tiffany is my name. I am 32 years old, and I have been happily married to Jesse for 4 years. Even though we are childless at this time, we have a loving and supportive relationship. I've been worried about my aging parents lately. I've been thinking a lot about their deteriorating mobility, which is why I suggested that Jesse and I move in with them to help them." Jess nodded without hesitation, understanding that having us around would help them and also provide us with peace of mind. He had replied, "It's a win-win situation," and I was incredibly appreciative of his sympathy and understanding. We thought about this strategy, but the practicalities were challenging. The distance between my family's home and the city makes commuting more difficult for us since none of us drives. It wasn't a good idea to move my parents into our tiny city rental either, especially because it was already small for the two of us. Thinking about having kids in the future would just make the space problem worse. In the face of these difficulties, I'd boldly suggested a solution. Why not construct a brand new house that could comfortably fit everyone? The thought brightened up Jesse's face. "What a great idea," he cried out. Inspired by his zeal, we set out to design and construct a house that would meet all of our requirements. My parents felt a little guilty at first for causing such trouble when I told them I was planning to build a house big enough for everyone. But as I explained why we were doing this, their fear became excitement, which made me feel so relieved and happy. Later, to finalize the details of our project, my husband and I went to a real estate company. Our top priorities were to select places that would make our daily trips easier and be close to train stations so that my parents could easily receive medical care. My parents seemed a little apprehensive about the prospect of moving in with us during our conversations regarding the features of the house. Fortunately, my spouse provided some wise counsel that made the preparation process go more smoothly. Our ideal house began to take shape as we moved forward, and the joy was evident. We were prepared to begin consulting with builders after completing our plans and engaging in lengthy web research. The preparations were almost complete, I said, admitting that house building was turning out to be more work than I had thought. "Working and juggling this definitely slows down progress," my spouse continued, considering the difficulties we had. Our ideas required a significant amount of time and effort, and the outcomes were incredibly fulfilling. Our expectations were greatly surpassed by the precisely designed blueprint. To get to this conclusion, we spoke with a number of real estate brokers and worked through extensive internet research. All that was left to do was wait impatiently for our house to be finished. Though there was a lot of enthusiasm and anticipation, it would take some time. But as the project progressed, my in-laws started to get more interested. "We've heard that you're building a new home, dear. Is it correct?" they inquired one day. "Yes, that is accurate. We want to be done with it by the end of the year," I answered. "How lovely." They genuinely expressed interest in our endeavor when they said, "Jess's efforts and the way he keeps us updated with all the details are so impressive." Though surprised by my mother-in-law's unexpected desire to come see us soon, I gladly accepted. My husband and I decided to visit them during the next weekend. They smiled warmly and the topic of our new home project soon came up. "Don't you think it's such a happy occasion to build a new house?" my father-in-law asked, sounding thoughtful as if he were thinking back on his own experiences. I answered, "Yes, we're very excited. We hope the construction wraps up smoothly and quickly so we can move in as soon as possible." We all laughed together at the thrilling trip that lay ahead. My mother-in-law was curious and said, "Could we see the blueprints?" My spouse responded by taking out his phone and displaying a picture of the design to them. "Well, it's pretty roomy," she said, "and so many rooms." "Yes, well, we'll be living with my parents, so we needed the extra space," I replied. My in-laws exchanged shocked looks with my spouse. They questioned, "You're all moving in together?" "Yes," my spouse replied. "Since my parents are getting older, we suggested living together, which led us to decide to build a new house." Their tone changed slightly, showing a trace of unease, to "Really? I see," they replied. I swiftly shifted the topic in an attempt to diffuse the situation. "How are you two doing? What state are you in physically?" "We're doing well. No major changes, just the usual routine," they responded. But there was still curiosity regarding our plans. "Please elaborate about the new home. Which room are your parents going to use?" they asked. The mood had definitely changed, as my husband explained by pointing to the blueprint. Their expressions had tightened, though he seemed unaware of the shift. Still, we talked about the arrangement, thinking that maybe our mutual enthusiasm for the fresh starts would finally calm everyone down. I was concerned that my in-laws would think we were favoring my parents when they found out we were moving in with them. Though I felt a little guilty, I hoped they would respect our choice and take my parents' needs into account. But it was becoming clear that they were having difficulty accepting it. Our new home's building was proceeding without any problems, and we could see it getting closer to completion every time we visited. My spouse was always excited about getting settled right away, but like him, I struggled to balance my desire for everything to be perfect with my joy for our fresh start. My parents visited to check on the development around halfway through the construction. Their happiness and appreciation filled me with immense thankfulness that we were able to provide them this wonderful home. In the meantime, I discovered that my spouse had been spending practically every weekend lately with his parents. "Are you planning to visit your parents again this weekend?" I questioned him. "Yes, indeed," he answered. When I mentioned how often he's been visiting since the beginning of the year, he said, "I also want to express my gratitude to them. I've been trying to go see them on my days off because of this." Knowing what he was going to do, I inquired, "Should I come along?" I was worried that his parents, who might have hoped to move in with us, would feel let out or disappointed. I reasoned that paying them a visit would be a nice act of kindness. But my spouse comforted me, saying, "It's okay. I'm capable of handling things on my own," he said, heading to his parents' house. I committed to support him as needed and made the decision to respect his decision. Time passed quickly, and soon our new home was prepared. We were so excited to begin this new chapter together that on moving day, we packed the car with boxes and drove off to our new house. I couldn't help but utter the words, "Wow, our new home," as soon as we pulled up to our gorgeous new house. It represented the start of an entirely new chapter. I found myself daydreaming about our future there, picturing hosting family picnics and preparing meals while observing my spouse play with our future child in the backyard. My excitement was heightened even more by these ideas. That's when my folks called. They told us they would be delayed because of traffic when they were meant to move in with us. We should start getting settled in, they said, but I asked that we wait for you. His parents unexpectedly showed up there, much to my surprise, as I was about to share this sentiment with my spouse. I watched in shock as they grinned and came walking toward us after getting out of their automobile. "Look at this magnificent house. It's impressive enough to show off to our friends," they exclaimed. "Yes, it's the house that Jesse and I carefully planned," I replied. "Tiffany, you have excellent taste," my mother-in-law complimented. "Well, I suppose I can give her credit for that," I said, managing a thankful nod. To my astonishment, they began unloading a considerable amount of luggage from their car, leaving me baffled. I quickly asked my mother-in-law and father-in-law, "Why do you have so much stuff? What are you planning to do?" Their reply caught me completely off guard. "What do you mean?" "We're moving our things into this house," they said. "You're planning to live here starting today, but you'll need to ask your parents to leave." "Why are you doing this?" I asked, my voice tinged with disbelief and frustration. My mother-in-law then explained, "As a new bride, it's customary to prioritize your husband's family." The unexpected twist left me struggling to reconcile the joy of our new beginning with the sudden challenge of balancing family expectations and our carefully laid plans. Feeling a wave of emotions, I turned to my husband for support when his parents declared that they should be the ones moving into the new house. Taking a deep breath, he told me, "Just let your parents know gently." I felt a rush of disbelief. This house was intended for me and my parents. "I can't accept this decision," I protested. His response came with visible irritation. "Didn't my mom just explain that it's natural for a wife to prioritize her husband's family? We can address your parents' situation later." I was stunned. It was painfully clear that my husband was either under heavy influence from his parents or shared their views, which were now glaringly apparent. "Come on, help with the moving," he urged as his parents began unloading their belongings, despite my parents and I not having set foot inside the house yet. "Oh, how wonderful! The interior is just splendid," they exclaimed eagerly, exploring the house. I confronted them. "Do you even know whose house this is?" "What?" they responded, clearly taken aback. After a brief pause, they turned to face me, asserting, "Whose house? Of course, it's Jess's house. Are you suggesting you have a claim to it? Since you and Jess are living here, and he's put so much into building this house, you have no right to make any claims without letting us explain first." It seemed my in-laws had jumped to conclusions and were quick to place blame on me, indicating that my husband hadn't shared the full details about our financial contributions to the house. "Why would your parents live in Jesse's house in the first place?" they said. "Indeed, it is peculiar," they added mockingly. "Poor Jesse, with such a demanding wife and parents." My breaking point had reached. Why do they blame me for their misinterpretations? "Jess ought to make up the difference if you plan to stay here," I said. "I've helped build this house," I said, shocking them with my assertion. "What is the amount that you say you have paid?" "It must be a little sum, perhaps $100, they jeered. My spouse said nothing, appearing uneasy. I faced him, posing a challenge. "Are you telling the truth? How big and powerful do you believe yourself to be?" Uncertain of what to say next, he hesitated. With an authoritative tone, my mother-in-law asked, "What are you insinuating?" Observing my spouse's unwillingness to confront the matter, I made the decision to make things clear for good. My savings were used exclusively to purchase this home. I want $460,000 back from you if you intend to reside here, covering the cost of the house." My in-laws looked genuinely surprised. Their eyes widened in shock, and their mouths hung open. They looked instantly to my spouse for approval. "Is this accurate, Jesse? Did Tiffany purchase this house?" They questioned, unable to accept the truth of the circumstance. My spouse gave a hesitant nod of agreement. "Yes, Tiffany did purchase the home. She recently got a promotion and now makes more money than I do." Then he revealed a more intimate detail. "Yet, despite my extensive professional experience and distinguished university education, I recently committed a grave error at work. I lost my job and even had my pay reduced. I'm now making the same money as a new hire." As they took in this information, the room fell silent. We never thought Jesse would find himself in this predicament. There was a startled stillness for a moment, and then their attitude toward me changed radically. We sincerely apologized to Tiffany for our previous remarks. We got everything all wrong. With regretful and apologetic tones, they begged to be forgiven and allowed to remain in this mansion. My husband bowed deeply as he joined in as well. "Please accept my apologies for not informing you sooner. Permit us to remain with you here." I was shocked by their abrupt change in attitude and begged for forgiveness. They apologized, but I refused to back down. "However much you beg, I am unable to accept this. In order to live with my parents, I'd built this house. There's no need in keeping this house if that's not feasible. I'll take $460,000 from you if you want to live here." "We don't have that kind of money," they said, their expressions lowering. "It appears that you will have to locate another place to go," I stated, adamant in my choice. "Wait," they chimed in. "We sold our previous home and moved out." My in-laws went into a desperation mode when they realized they would be forced out of our new home. "Please allow us to stay, Tiffany," they begged. "Your parents can live with us too." I found it impossible to imagine having both sets of parents live under one roof. "I cannot concur with it. You should have some money left over if you sold your house. Why not use it to locate an apartment?" I inquired. Tears filled their eyes at this. In actuality, we suffered a sizable loss on an unwise investment. We used the proceeds from the sale of our home and our retirement funds to settle that obligation. Nothing remains for us. My spouse and I are both retired, and she is too old to be working as a housewife. "You hold our sole hope," they acknowledged. Their sincere request nonetheless. I believed that their poor money management was the cause of the predicament. "Shouldn't you ask your son for assistance if you need it?" I answered, "I'm not in a position to help strangers." "Aren't we family too?" they questioned, a great deal of emotion in their voices. "That is asking for too much. Could you please lend us a little assistance?" They begged some more, but I refused. "It's not feasible. Living with someone whose family is attempting to seize control of our house is unimaginable to me." I had an extreme fit of rage and blurted, "Jesse, let's get a divorce." "What?" he cried out. "I can't even think about a divorce." "I apologize, but this is beyond forgiveness. Please go now," I commanded. While his parents persisted in pleading, my husband became anxious at the mere idea of divorce. But my resolution was set in stone. I told my in-laws, "If you plan to stay here, I'll call the police." And they fled in terror. Shaken, my spouse objected, saying, "I'm still your spouse. I ought to be allowed to remain here. I'll go to court if you persist." I responded with firmness. Realizing that a lawsuit could jeopardize his job, he quickly gathered his belongings and left. My parents came shortly after his departure, perplexed by his absence. When I told them what was going on, They were astonished but thanked me. They said, "Thank you for defending us." Before our baby was born, I was glad to have cut ties with such a self-centered in-law family, even if I wished my husband had been more tolerant. My divorce went through without a hitch, and I was back on my own again soon after. Now that pandemonium had been replaced by calm, I relished quiet days with my folks in our recently constructed home.